Okay, a guy we all had high hopes for in 2020, but just couldn't find his way onto the field due to injuries was Kenny Golladay. He's now a free agent. He's 27 years old. Struggled with injuries the entire year. It felt like every week we were saying, oh, he's close to being back. The reports are he's kind of practicing on the sideline.
Right.
He's close to being back. From what we've heard, the reports are he's a strong candidate to be franchise tagged by the Lions. Not sure if that means they're going to tag and trade him, because I don't see a scenario that makes sense for him to stay in this team. However, it's a possibility. Expert consensus rankings, according to Fantasy Pros, have Golladay ranked as a wide receiver 14 going into 2021 in fantasy.
Wow.
So, with that being said, let's play a game on today's show, Badaki. Okay? Have you ever watched the show Community?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, I love that show.
So you'll know the character Abed. And in one of their episodes, Abed creates alternate realities. So I'm going to create two realities for us today for Kenny Golladay.
Okay.
The first reality is Kenny Golladay stays in Detroit. So assuming he stays with Jared Goff there, is he a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy for 2021?
No. He's not a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy. And I know a lot of people probably have rebuttals. Maybe you have a rebuttal, but obviously we know Jared Goff and Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp were all in that system in LA. But you had to remember the biggest piece in LA, and it was that offensive wizard, which was Sean McVay.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
A wizard.
The wizard, Sean McVay. No, true. Okay. I get it. I mean, he was obviously... So you're saying, I'm going to let you continue, but you're saying Jared Goff is a system quarterback, essentially.
I believe so. I think we saw a glimpse of that. It's going to be interesting to see him in this new offense. Obviously, the new head coach, Dan Campbell, is going to come in. Is he going to be a great coach? Who knows? Obviously, we heard raving reviews about Dan Campbell in New Orleans. Obviously, but you have to remember, there's always going to be growing pains, and no matter a new head coach or a new quarterback going into a new system, and I believe Detroit and Jared Goff are going to have some growing pains in this coming season. Obviously, it's not the same offense. It's not the same piece if Kenny G does stay. I in my personal opinion, I believe he's more of a top 25 wide receiver with Jared Goff in that offense.
Right. All right. I get it. So the biggest missing piece would be Sean McVay, like we talked about. You're a wizard, Sean. All right. So alternate reality 2. This is our second reality. Let's say for shits and gigs he lands with your New York Football Giants.
Oh, boy.
Is his upside higher, the same, or lower than in Detroit with Jared Goff?
It has to be the same. And it hurts me to say this because obviously I love my New York Football Giants, but in a non-biased perspective, you have to look at what the Giants are doing, what they have in everything. So obviously I love DJ, let's be honest. Obviously there's still some upside for DJ. And we have to remember that he's returning with the same personnel around him for the first time in his career. He's coming back with the same head coach, the same majority of the same offensive line, and the offensive scheme. So I think in year 3, we really have to put it into perspective. Is DJ going to be that? Obviously, me, I'm a Giants fan. David Gettleman always says you will always know your potential in year 3 out of any player, especially a quarterback. So DJ, this is last year for DJ, because if not, and Dave Gettleman's still there, DJ is probably gone.
Yeah, I mean, DJ's on the hot seat, some would say. Are you that guy? Well, according to David Gettleman, we'll find out this year.
Yeah, so look, there's a lot with DJ, and I think we saw Darius Slayton and how he was throwing those deep balls to Darius Slayton. But just imagine Kenny G, he's going to be that upgrade to Darius Slayton. He's going to be this guy that can really clean up those mistakes that Darius Slayton made in his young career. And Kenny G, obviously with that experience, can come in, take over, and say, you know what, I'm that guy for you. I'm that deep ball threat, that deep ball receiver for you. Let me come in and help. So I personally like it as a Giants fan and not as a Giants fan. Plus, there's also been reports that, the Giants could be pushing for him.
Okay. But just so we're on the same page, his fantasy perspective is the same in Detroit with Jared Goff than in New York with Daniel Jones. And I think that's what we found as we were looking at landing spots for Golladay, teams that make sense. Most of the teams were like, oh, is that really an upgrade? I don't know. I mean, if he lands with the Dolphins, is Tua going to be a better fantasy quarterback for him? How about the Colts? Carson Wentz? I don't know if he's good, so it's actually really hard to find teams that have money who have the need. So it's hard to say if he will actually be a better fantasy player if he leaves in free agency. Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the best of fantasy football. We got some more videos as well if you're feeling like it. And lastly, don't forget that you can support us and unlock exclusive content by signing up to our Patreon, patreon.com/fantasylandfam.